right. You never know when somebody maybe is turning on this garden Q&A. And welcome to all those that love to talk about plants, love to get things growing indoors and out, and just loves to see something at the end of all your hard work. It could be a bloom that's flowering. It could be a plant that's flowering in your garden. It could be maybe a cucumber that you're going to be harvesting, or even already harvesting some radishes. And of course, strawberries, local strawberries in Ontario have already started down in southwestern Ontario. So they are just around the corner, depending upon where you live. For those that don't know who the heck I am, this guy, the nickname is Frankie Flowers, aka Frank Ferragini from City TV's Breakfast Television and Cityline, where you can see me Monday through Friday on Breakfast Television, wild about weather. I give you the forecast, passionate about plants. I'm always here to give you garden advice. And I always say family matters, because it indeed does. Speaking of family, my family business, that's where I get my background from. They own and operate 2 garden centers, Bradford Greenhouse's Garden Gallery, as well as the Greenhouse Growers. So I am a lifetime of knowledge when it comes to growing plants and gardening. As a matter of fact, I'm a 4-time best-selling garden author. So you're in good hands today here as well. Just going to give some quick shout outs this morning. Matthew Amos, who joins us each and every week. I just got Billy Zane, Tom Arnold. Oh, look at all the different autographs he got. Wow, because he went to Comic-Con. Amazing to you there, Matthew. Way to go. Dino, a good shout out to you from Mississauga this morning. Good morning to you. Linda Brown, good morning to you as well. And we got Janet there saying good morning. So now we just did a few good mornings and welcome back. Indeed, I am back, and that gives me a nice little, what we call in the business, a segue into what I want to tell you where I was. If you haven't been watching Breakfast Television this week, where I was and where myself and Diva were all week long were in Disney. As a matter of fact, we are at the Epcot Flower and Garden Festival at Disney World in Orlando, Florida. There's me along with Mickey having some talks and some chats about the Flower Festival, which I've attended. Now it's almost 20 years that I've been going to this Flower Festival, not each and every year, but I've been to at least 10 of them. The topiaries, there you see Beauty and the Beast, unbelievable. You can see an underplanting there of some blue salvias. It's an annual blue salvia known as Mystic Spires. This is the French Pavilion, the France Pavilion there in Epcot. In behind there is the new Ratatouille ride, which is a beautiful ride, but some more topiaries that you see. There's good old Mickey and Minnie amongst a whole bunch of everything from different bright colors of Coreopsis to some Sunshine and Patience to, of course, you can even see some Mystic Spires salvia that's in there as well. And you even have some rudbeckia that's planted in between. This is a look as you go through and see the monorail that goes through Epcot. This is one of the butterfly gardens, but this is a garden that speaks about fragrance. I was speaking to some of the horticulturalists there, and I talked to them about new varieties and what they tend to plant. And they always focus on what's heat sensitive to plant because it gets really hot in Florida. They do most of the plantings at night. So the crew comes in at night and plants so that the magic is never given away, that you never see any work really happening in Disney. Each and every morning they're attended to, the plants themselves. And there's over 200,000 annuals that are planted there. There's another beautiful topiary, which we're seeing in the magical world of Disney. Of course, at Epcot, you can see some of the bigger containers that are there. This is in, I believe, the China Pavilion, where we have the pandas that are just playfully playing. Just to let you know, for the topiaries that you see, those topiaries, how do they get them so formed and so fitted? With hairpins. As a matter of fact, Disney World in Florida is one of the largest users of hairpins in the entire state of Florida. And the reason for that is they have so many topiaries and there's so many hairpins that have to go into each topiary that thousands upon thousands are used. There's the 7 dwarves, of course. Just look at that planting as well. You know, there's really no monochromatic theme. There's no theme in terms of the plants underneath. There's just a mass of color. And when you put a mass of color, you can see them behind the red roses. We have some red salvia, blue salvia. We have some begonias that are interplanted there. I think I see some Coreopsis as well. When you see this, it's just a bonanza of color is what I would call it. And when you see a bonanza of color like that, it just kind of conveys fun, just fun. And I think that's what the 7 dwarves are all about. There's Snow White, of course, and then you can see that now the planting's a little bit more calmer right around Snow White. But then again, there's the topiaries, there's the pinning of those plants, and there's a whole lot of work. And there's finally, at the Magic Kingdom, Devo and myself giving Minnie Mouse a kiss for all the good work that she oversaw, because we really know that Mickey may look like he runs the show, but Minnie will always have Mickey's ear, and Mickey will always make sure to make Minnie happy. So there's a little quick tour, guys, of the Epcot Flower and Garden Show. I'm just going to also show the screen again here as well. Just if you want more information on the Epcot Flower and Garden Show, you can always go to their website. It's the Epcot International Flower and Garden Festival. If you still want to go, there's time. It goes until July the 5th, but it starts March the 1st to July the 5th. There's several different plantings, so there's always many different things that are to see there. There's also many different speaking engagements, so maybe even plan now for next season. Lots of food as well, lots of different food events, and there's even the Garden Rocks concert series that's there. So you can see there's a ton of stuff that you can do. I absolutely say that it's a must do. It is indeed a must do. If you're into the world of gardening and you want to go on a vacation, you want to get some sun fun and see some flowers, and then also see the precision of Disney and then the budget of Disney, and then how to cap it all off is you can either go see the fireworks at Epcot, or you can go see the fireworks over at the Magic Kingdom. And then there's an array of color in the sky as well. Jennifer Victoria, big shout out to her. Good question. Is it a good idea to fertilize the grass today with the amount of rain coming tonight and in the coming days? Worried to wash away. I'm in Waterloo. As a matter of fact, if you're using a slow release fertilizer, that's a pelletized fertilizer. So if you're using a Scott's Turf Builder, is one example of a premium, and you really get what you pay for, branded fertilizer that is slow release, meaning that it will not wash away, meaning it will not wash into the water table. Applying your fertilizer before rain is ideal. It's actually a perfect time. There is the Summer Guard fertilizer that I would maybe consider putting on right now, because we are leading more towards summer. Or I would do there's also the green, the one that's fortified iron and gives you a 3-day greening. You'll see that as well. So there is some different green max. So it's the Scott Turf Builder Green Max. Those are the ones that I would suggest as well. If you have a grub problem, if you have been seeing grubs, June bugs, Japanese beetles, today is the perfect day to be putting Grub Begone down or nematodes. My preference is Grub Begone, because once again, it needs to be the lawn needs to be watered. So we would wait for the showers that we would have today. So more towards the evening, we then put the Grub Begone down, and then we're going to have a nice consistent rain in. So the ground needs to be watered and or wet, and then it needs to be applied and then watered in. So this is a great period of time, even putting some extra grass seed down to fill in, maybe putting a Scott's Turf repair down in some of those areas. It's a perfect time for that. Really good question, by the way. But you need to use a slow release, which is really important. Ashley Brown. Yesterday I noticed, no, let's go up to Ashley, because Ashley had a question there in Aurelia. Good morning. Is it okay to put grass seed down now? Thank you. It's okay to put grass seed down now, but if you're not able to water, we are going to warmer temperatures, and we're actually going to usually drier periods of time. So you can put grass seed down because it will germinate, but grass tends not to do that well in the heat of summer. So when the best time to put grass seed down is generally the end of May. So we're pretty much still in that period of time until the beginning of July. So you're still in that window. From July until about mid-August, I would not really be putting much grass seed down unless you're trying to thicken the lawn out, like just some patches, and you want to fill some patches in. That's completely fine. But to oversee the lawn in the summer, you need to really apply. But the perfect time to do it, once again, would be that window from the end of May to July 1st, and then from mid-August all the way through to the end of October. But you can put sod down at any time, by the way. Here's another question that we have from Tracy this morning. Good morning. Yesterday, I noticed my newly planted bridal spirea, which is the bridal wreath spirea, is infested with aphids. Help. So this is bug season, guys. Because we're in more warmth and we've had some longer periods where we've had warmer air, we're going to get into bugs. And aphids are one of the quite common bugs that are out there. First thing that you can do is, as soon as you see those aphids, take your hose, put a nozzle on it that's a high pressure wash, and just wash them away. That's the first thing that you can do. After that bridal wreath spirea dries, in the morning, give it a spraying with an insecticidal soap, like a Bug Be Gone. Next thing that you can do is attract ladybugs into your property, or if you see ladybugs, let them be, because the ladybugs will be eating the aphids. So wash them away, allow it to dry, then spray an insecticidal soap like a Bug Be Gone down, and that will control. But immediately, if you ever see bugs on plants, the first thing that you can always do is just to wash them away to keep them at bay. Another indication if you have aphids on your plants is if you have ants. So often you'll see ants eating behind an aphid, because the aphids, when they chew your plant, they leave almost a honeydew in behind them, and that's what the ants will feed on. However, if it's a peony, the ants are naturally on a peony. So let's just go to that right now and talk a little bit about peonies as well, because right now I'm looking right across from me into my garden, and I have some whites and some pink peonies that are in bloom. And I was like, I'm going to cut some peonies, and I want to cut them earlier in the morning because it's cooler temperatures and they'll last longer. But here's a little look that there's lots of information out there about peonies and how and when to cut peonies. The main thing is what I really want to talk about is storing peonies buds in the refrigerator to expend bloom time. So if you have some peonies that you see that are just about coming into bloom and you want to cut them today, but you really have an event next Saturday and you're worried you may not have them, you can put them into not a refrigerator if you don't want to have the space, but you can also put them into your cold cellar. By put them in your cooled cellar, which is a cooler temperature, like your fruit cellar or your cantina, cooler temperature, no light, they'll hold for about 7 days, and then you can bring them out into the light and enjoy them. When you cut peonies, make sure you cut them at a 45. You put them immediately into water, but before you put them in water, just shake them from the top down, just a gentle shake to try to remove any of the ants that would be on them. And the best time, as I mentioned too, would be to cut them in the earlier morning hours when temperatures are cool, or on an overcast, cooler day like today. Today would be a good day to get out there and to cut some peonies that are out there. So there's a good thing to do as well. Marie, I need a solution to kill potato bugs, finding eggs on the leaves. So the first thing is when you go onto the leaves, you just crush those bugs, those eggs with your fingers. You want to work the soil around the base of the potato bug. And then as well, you can also apply Beetle Be Gone. Beetle Be Gone can take care of some of the hard-shelled insects like a potato bug. So once again, Beetle Be Gone. And I'm going to give you full transparency. As you know, if you watch me many times, I do work with Scott's Miracle-Gro. One of the ways that I'm able to put on this each and every week is because of the support that Scott's Miracle-Gro gives me. I'm going to have some giveaways to give away as well for Scott's coming up in the next few weeks. So I want you to take, that's Miracle-Gro and Scott's products. And the other reason why I recommend them is because they work. Beetle Be Gone is one of the best new products that is on the market for the control of June beetles, Japanese beetles, which are one and the same. Red lily beetles, they've said to work on. Potato bugs, they said to work on. Any hard-shelled insects. It's one of the only solutions that are Health Canada approved. We got great advice out there. Woo! Thanks, Marianne. Thank you. We got another shout out and another recommendation, which says Miracle-Gro is the best. It's actually a really, really great product that's out there. Let's see what Wendy's asking about today. Wendy. Hi, Frankie. Hi, Wendy. I have sowed yellow wax beans 3 times. So she's planted those from different packets, and nothing is coming up. All the best of my veggies are doing well. My garden is fully fenced. No critters. What could be going on? Frustrated. Thanks. So let's give you a little bit of recommendation for the next sowing of these seeds. First off, what I want you to do is to take those yellow wax beans. I want you to take the seeds and I want you to soak them for 24 hours indoors in water. So soak the seed 24 hours indoors in water. That'll actually soften that seed. When you sow the seeds, I want you to put 2 seeds per area that you're sowing, because if one doesn't come up, the other one will. We can always pluck the other one away or replant it. Then what you can do is on top of that is we're going to take, you could do even a red Solo cup or any type of paper cup or plastic cup, and cut the top off the top, like a hole in the top, and then put that cup on the base of that plant and almost put it into the soil a bit. That'll create a little bit of a buffer and or barrier so the plant can still germinate and come up. But if there are any insects, like maybe a cutworm that's coming across and eating it or cutting it, that'll prevent that. And then you can see the germination. But the soaking of the seeds, the soaking of any bean or pea seeds, really, really beneficial for you to really get a better germination that's out there. Got Got another question that's out there. We're getting good questions today. Good morning, Frankie. What product can I use to get rid of a lot of prickers from my perennial garden without hurting my perennials? So this is what's called, so in the world of herbicides. So a herbicide is anything that kills weeds. So it's a herbicide. An insecticide is anything that kills insects. And a fungicide is anything that kills fungus, which is disease. That's the world. So when you're in a garden, you want a selective herbicide. And the selective herbicide would be a targeted herbicide that would have the ability to target certain plants, but not others. In the lawn, you would often hear of a good example of a selective herbicide right now is Weed Be Gone. Weed Be Gone is a chelated iron that's Health Canada approved, that when you spray it on your lawn, it actually targets broadleaf weeds like dandelions. It'll take care of that, clover and plantain. Okay. Difficulty in your perennial garden is with these pricklies, which are usually some of the thistles that you have coming up. Those guys there are a broadleaf weed, and your perennials are a broadleaf plant. So there are no herbicides available that will selectively kill one and not the other. You can, however, go in there and use a non-selective herbicide, meaning that it will kill everything. And you can put a piece of cardboard down, boom, and spray towards the cardboard. One of the example of a non-selective herbicide is Roundup, but you want to make sure that you're very careful with that, because anything that contacts, it'll kill. So the best thing is to really just on a wet day, so over on Tuesday or Wednesday, when the garden's nice and wet from the rain, to get out there and weed and use your gloves, of course. But the best time to weed a garden is right after a rain, because the soil's looser and the weeds will pull much easier, and you'll be able to get the weed and the root at the same time out. Super important for you guys there as well. Good questions today. We got another question here. My zucchini leaves are chalky looking. Would you know why? Sounds like powdery mildew. So powdery mildew often is caused by, if you're doing any overhead watering, or if you're watering more so the leaves than the soil. So you really want to water the root, especially with zucchini and any squash type plants, because the soil, when you're watering above, it's the water, but also the soil, water droplets will hit the soil, and then that soil could splash on the leaf. That puts a pathogen on, and could be powdery mildew or air circulation. You can use a fungicide to try to minimize the amount of powdery mildew, or you can remove some of the leaves that are more infected. Just throw those out and then wipe your hands clean after removing those leaves, or wipe your shears clean after removing those leaves as well. Other things that you're seeing right now is possibly on hydrangeas. You're starting to see the leaves of hydrangea curl. There's an insect inside that. Just pick those leaves off. I'll show you what happened in my veggie garden, but this is just a representation of what happened in my veggie garden and my veggie troughs, that is I'm seeing this again. Yeah, this is Swiss chard, and that's Swiss chard leaf miner. So you can see that blistering of the leaves. So what I do generally is I just pick off those leaves and the new leaves don't have it. What I could do if I had a bigger batch of Swiss chard, because I only have a few plants planted amongst my lettuce and my tomatoes and things like that. If I had a bigger batch, I would put a floating row cover over top of them before planting, because that wouldn't allow the adult stages of those leaf miners to fly on them. But if you have this right now, I would just recommend picking off the leaves of the Swiss chard at this time. So I'm looking at my veggie garden right now. Things are looking pretty happy out there, and I'm pretty happy that I got that done. I still have some gardening to do. I still have some annuals to plant. It was cool. We had late frost. I had some travel. So I've been planting in stages. My front containers, I haven't taken any pictures of them, because I tried something different this year, and I don't know if I'm fully happy with them. So I think I'm going to give it this week, and if I'm still not happy, I'm probably going to pull them apart and replant them. So you can see sometimes you don't necessarily always enjoy what you're doing out there. Terry, good morning, Terry. Good morning from Oakville. We so appreciate you. I appreciate you guys. You know what? I am just thrilled to be able to share a passion with people that are willing to hang out, and hopefully I'm helping you. Hopefully I'm making you smile. Hopefully I'm showing you something that you didn't know, and hopefully I'm making your day a little bit better. If I'm making your day a little bit better, that makes my day that much better. So it's just a pleasure to be here, and I do appreciate all of you. I want to also, at the same time, when we talk about appreciation, I want to give out a little bit of some, a little bit of advertising out there to some other community events that are happening. Just a reminder, because I think it's important to make sure that we support community. Speaking, I like things that are free. Everybody likes things that are free. The Long Branch Garden Tour is happening Saturday, June the 24th from 10 to 4 p.m. It's rain or shine. There's 37 wonderful gardens that you can see in the garden tour. And once again, it's free. It's free. So there's something that I would love for you to go out and see as well. Another thing that I would love for you to go out and see is there's the upcoming one for Scarborough Health Center. But also, if you're thinking about maybe going to some garden tours and you're like, is there a garden tour in my area? I just got to give another shout out to this wonderful, wonderful website, which is Garden Ontario. Garden Ontario, and that's gardenontario.org. You can see that here's some of the different things that are happening even today, June the 11th. If this afternoon you're watching me in Guelph, from 1 to 5:30, there's a garden tour. That's the Guelph Horticultural Society's garden tour that's happening. We actually have on the 14th a tour of the Arboretum at the University of Guelph. We have in Leaside, Magical Garden Tour and Summer Flower Show on the 24th. The Schomburg Horticultural Society also has an annual garden tour that's happening. So Markham has a garden tour that's happening. Fergus has a garden tour that's happening. So you can see that there's a lot that's out there that you can do. And the best thing about garden tours, the best thing absolutely about garden tours is that you can speak to fellow gardeners that live in your area and you can see what's growing great in their garden, talk to them about some of the challenges. Sometimes they even have additional plants for sale, but that person there could also be a mentor to you that you can maybe even call in or lean on that will help you on your garden journey, because gardening is a journey that's out there as well. So we're going to take a look down here about a question about astilbes. So astilbes, for those that maybe are on this but don't know what astilbes are, they're a perennial plant that actually has almost a feathery-like foliage with a really nice little bloom. One of my favorite varieties of astilbes for performance is Sprite, a little bit shorter of an astilbe, but a really long bloom period. My astilbes, leaves are growing brown on the edges, watered a lot and gave it new soil last year. I had the same issue even on my new plants that I planted. Leaves are growing brown. They're in a shady location. Any suggestions? Question, do you have mulch that you have put in with those newly planted plants? If you have mulch that's more of a fresher mulch, meaning that the mulch was just cut up, maybe it's a wood mulch, that mulch can pull nitrogen from the soil as it's breaking down and as it's kind of almost calming and or cooling. So that could be an issue that's causing those browning of the leaves. That's called sun scorch. So shady is depending upon how many hours of sunlight it's getting, and maybe it's getting a little bit more sun, but it could either be the nitrogen deficiency, but they are definitely under stress. So Ingrid, what I would like you to do is to take a wide shot of that area, wide shot. Then what I would like you to do is take a close-up of some of the foliage. And then what I would like you to do is I'm going to show you on this right here is you're going to go on to your email, and at the bottom there, and you can do it all in lowercase, you're going to type in Frankie with an IE at frankieflowers.com. That is my email. You're going to send those two pictures to me. I'm going to take a look at those two pictures, and I'm going to give you some different advice and or suggestions on what you could do on those. So I hope that does answer some of your questions that are out there. And I am last week, because Disney, when I was at Disney World, when we were shooting the show, in between our hits that we were doing live on the show, we were actually doing other shoots that we were doing, other film segments that we were doing that will be airing in September, because the entire Breakfast Television crew will be going back to Disney World in September. Watch for giveaways on Breakfast Television as well. And then in the afternoon, we continued to shoot. And then some nights we shot as well. So from last Sunday afternoon to basically yesterday, I have been full on. It's been busy. Okay. Replying. This is the best thing, guys. And this is what I want to say is that if you're on there, guys and gals, I should always say, if you're on today and you're seeing in the comments, you're actually seeing something that I know the answer to that. I could give some good advice for that. I want you to go on there, reply to that, and give that advice. As you can see, Marianne here is giving a reply to Michael and Jane. I have geraniums, petunias, marigolds in my hot areas. Yeah, geraniums are probably the best thing for a hot area. Fantastic. Cosmos does really well in hot areas. Some of the New Guinea, which are the sunshine impatiens, do well in heat, but they need a lot of water that's out there. But you can never, ever fail with geraniums in a lot of heat. Hibiscus, great in pots in hot areas that then can go indoors in the wintertime as well. Ivy geraniums as a trailing plant, really good for heat. With the existing lawn, I want to fertilize it again, but also want to overseed. What is the proper procedure? So if this is the case and it's not a large lawn, use the Scott's Turf Builder 911. The reason why the Scott's Turf Builder 911 is fantastic is that it is a seed, it has a mulch within that, and a fertilizer. So it's going to do all those things that you want to do. If you're thinking about you want to overseed and fertilize, what I would do is do your overseeding. First, cut the lawn and do your overseeding and fertilizing at the same time. That's it. But cut the lawn a little bit higher because we're getting a little bit later on and closer to summer. So now is when we're raising the blades up to actually protect the lawn that's out there. And then water. Water is your friend. But water is a precious resource. So make sure that you're following your municipal guidelines when it comes to watering as well. Okay, that's the same question. Bee balm. My bee balm and butterfly bush every year, can't see what's eating them, but always spray them and powder. Annoys me to no end. Have to stay on top of this. So the key is to do, sometimes if we know this happens each and every year, what we want to do is be more preventative than reactive. So if you're waiting to see till you see the chew marks, if something's eating, then you're being reactive. So be preventative by giving them what's called an integrative pest management. Integrative pest management means that you're actually treating and or monitoring to make sure that they don't have that issue that happens. So right now, I would start doing some treatments of your insecticidal soap if you're using that, or if I assume with the powder you're using probably a sulfur powder to minimize the amount of powdery mildew, because bee balm tends to get powdery mildew as well. But I would start that application and do that application either once a month or every other week. And then that would really help you out. That's there. And continue to monitor. Take the time to smell the roses, see what's going on in your garden. Shelly Johnson, morning, Frankie, talking about peonies. I have gray mold on the ones by the house. Should I cut them back? What should I do? The other ones in the garden are fine. Thank you. So the ones with the gray mold, take a look at that garden. See if that garden where they are planted in is too full and there's not enough air circulation that's going. You can cut them back if you want. What I would do is we're going into a few days of rain and a cool week. I would not only cut them back, I would cut them back by cut the foliage off and leave a little bit of the stems. If they've been there for 3 to 5 years, I would even it's a little bit later, but I would take the chance because it's a cool week. I would divide them. So I would divide them and split those clumps into 2 and then replant them. You'll get foliage this year. You won't get flower on those, but you'll get good blooms for next year that's out there. So that'll help you out there too. Question about Swiss chard. Swiss chard always gets spotty white. What is killing it? I've tried different spots and different pots, but that's probably what I just said, which was the Swiss chard leaf miner. Really, if that's happening, just pick those leaves. The nice thing about Swiss chard is you cut Swiss chard, it grows back. You cut Swiss chard, it grows back. So just remove those leaves. And it's most likely, and the other part too, is you can put a little bit of a sheet over the top that would actually prevent that from happening. But you need a sheet that's white that allows still some light to come in. Marnie. Hi, Frankie Flowers from earlier. Do peonies eventually die? Peonies are a perennial plant that come back each and every year, but peonies bloom period isn't the longest bloom period. That's why they're so cherished, that everybody loves peonies when they're in flower, because they're only here for, let's say that they're here for about a 3-week period where we start to see them begin to flower to when they finish flowering, and then they're gone for the season. After the flowers are done, we want to remove those flower stems, leave the foliage that's there, fertilize so that we give good energy to that plant. And then next season, in the fall, we can cut them back. Next season, they'll come from the ground and then they'll bloom and give us beautiful blooms for the next season. Linda. Hi, Linda. Welcome back. Why is it so hard to find flowers that can tolerate direct full sun and our summer heat here, but flowers do well in Florida? We get direct sun with our front facing south, but annuals don't like it. Suggestions. Good morning. So first thing is, in Florida, they have irrigation. They're watering every day. So that's what they're doing at Disney World. Soil. They put a lot of attention into making sure the quality of their soil is good. So making sure that you have a good foundation, right? You're picking the right plant for the right place, and you're giving it adequate watering. So a deep watering, and here we don't have to be as frequent, but we're going to be frequent waterings, deep frequent waterings until they get rooted and established. And then they are going to have a great garden. Fertilizing is also key. So if you're somebody that's not going to want to do a liquid fertilizer, you could do a liquid Miracle Grow, but you could also do just a shake and feed. The shake and feed at planting, you put it down, or even now, just spread that across your soil. That'll be a slow release fertilizer over a 3-week period that you'll have that. So in Florida, what you're seeing is you're seeing good soil, right plant selection, good watering, and fertilizing. You get those beautiful plants that you're seeing that are there. And they're using tried and true. So it's taking them time to find out which ones are working. Like Mystic Spires, which is salvia, blue salvia. It's an annual. That thing, great in full sun and heat, and even a little bit more drought tolerant. If you're looking for plants with more drought tolerance, silver foliage plants tend to have more drought tolerance, and those plants with thinner leaves have more drought tolerance as well. Hello, she says, Melissa. Powdery mildew on vegetables. What is the best treatment? Melt treatment didn't quite work last year. Powdery mildew is extremely difficult. Making sure you have good airflow, watering in the morning around the root systems of the plants instead of overhead watering or watering on the foliage. Great way to reduce the chance of getting or minimizing powdery mildew. Using a garden fungicide is something that will help with powdery mildew as well. So those are some things that help. But once you get powdery mildew and you get it bad, to correct it, it's not going to really help out. So sometimes, and then as well, when it comes to squash type plants, things like zucchini, some of the summer squashes, and even cucumbers, planting them the 1st to 2nd week of June tend to see less occurrences of powdery mildew. So it's just a little bit more soil to deal as well. Marlene is asking how to deal with leaf miners. The issue with leaf miners, so let's say that we had birch leaf miner on birch trees, they're in the leaf. So because they're in the leaf, any treatment over top won't get to them because they're protected by the leaf. They're actually a smart insect. That's why when you have Swiss chard leaf miner, the only solution is to just pick the leaves and hope the new green ones that come up don't have the leaf miner that's there, and then do the row covering that you can do over top. With birch leaf miner, we would need a systemic insecticide, meaning it's almost like a soil drench that you put in the soil and would uptake. It's not Health Canada approved and not available for consumers. So if you have leaf miner, you can almost just have to let them run their occurrence. If it's very bad and you have a large mature birch tree or another tree, that's when I would call an arborist in, because they have strategies that they have approval to help you out with. Here we go. Is Critterator safe to spray around the perimeter of a veggie garden? Not too close to my edibles. Rabbits and squirrels decimated my garden last year. Critterator is a powder that you can put around the exterior. You can also put blood meal down. Blood meal would have to reapply after it rains, but blood meal is a fertilizer, and they tend not to like the smell. You can also purchase coyote urine that you can put around the exterior because they don't like the predators. Fence is another thing. Planting marigolds around the exterior sometimes helps a little bit, depending upon how hungry they are. For ornamental, meaning those plants that you don't eat, you can use and spray Animal Begone on them because they won't eat them. But you don't want to spray Animal Begone on an edible because it makes things taste bad. We're going to do one more question, and we're at our half hour. We're actually a little bit over. Barb, good morning, Frankie. I raise monarch butterflies. Amazing. And something has chopped my milkweed plant coming up. I thought it was poisonous. Is there anything I could do to prevent this, please? So preventing, first we have to figure out what indeed chomped at your milkweed. And it could be that something ran by and broke it. Could be some of the milkweeds can get eaten by some beetles, so we have to identify that. In terms of treatment, we really just want to leave them because, of course, the milkweed is where we're seeing the monarchs come. And that's where the monarchs are using to lay their eggs and their pupa. So we don't really want to use any treatment that's there. So you really want to identify what the problem is. If you can send me a picture, Barb, of the area, wide shot of the area, and then as well, a tight shot of those chumped leaves to Frankie at Frankie Flowers. I want to be really careful. Another recommendation that I will give you for your monarch butterflies, plant some parsley close to the area. Many different monarchs and swallowtails love parsley. And a water source is really key. So I'm at the half hour. It also means I got to drive my boys to the greenhouse because they're working today at 9 a.m. I hope you guys have a blooming great day, a blooming great week. Of course, you can sign up for the newsletter. I'm going to be writing the newsletter today. It's a little bit delayed because I was away last week. So the newsletter will be coming out later this week or early next. So just go onto my website, frankieflower.com, go to the bottom, go into the newsletter. There'll be some giveaways that are there as well for you. I hope you guys have a fantastic week, and thank you for joining. Just thank you. I hope you learned a little bit. I hope I inspired you a little bit, and I want you to get out there and get growing. Rain's coming today. Just but a reminder, you know what rainy days are for? Rainy days are for us gardeners to get housework done inside. Yeah.